In the realm of television, there's no show quite like Twin Peaks. The dark, atmospheric, and quirky series has been winning over viewers for decades, accumulating a fan base that spans generations. And while Twin Peaks is now considered a beloved classic, its origin as a weekly series on network television was tumultuous, to say the least. Despite premiering to high ratings, the show would face a perfect storm of insurmountable obstacles, which would ultimately lead to its premature demise. The television industry had traditionally been dominated by three major networks: CBS, ABC, and NBC. But by the mid-1980s, things were starting to change. In 1986, a fourth network entitled Fox hit the airwaves, quickly developing a reputation for its edgy and offbeat programming. Additionally, cable television was giving the networks a run for their money, with premium channels like HBO and Showtime allowing viewers to watch mainstream films with no commercials or censorship. At the same time, home video formats like VHS had been introduced, giving consumers even more choices and shifting viewing habits considerably. As a result of these new technologies, the big three networks saw their ratings gradually declining, and by the late 1980s, they were starting to develop edgier, more innovative shows that broke the mold of traditional television in hopes of salvaging their audience. ABC in particular found rave critical success with the dramedy 30-something, which received numerous awards and accolades. Another ABC series, China Beach, also garnered praise, depicting the experience of American military personnel during the Vietnam War. While these shows were lauded for tackling issues rarely seen on television before, their appeal to mass audiences was limited, as they developed cult followings but failed to become big ratings hits. To make matters worse, in March of 1988, the Writers Guild of America went on strike, which ground all TV production to a screeching halt. The strike lasted a record 5 months and cost the studios an estimated $140 million in lost licensing fees. With television production backed up and their audience hemorrhaging, the networks were willing to try almost anything to bring viewers back. Enter David Lynch. David Lynch was the last person that most people would associate with network television. The film director had risen to prominence in the 1970s with the release of Eraserhead, an art house feature which became known for its esoteric imagery and unconventional aesthetic. The film became a big hit on the midnight movie circuit and was followed in 1981 by Elephant Man, a more conventional biographical drama which received 8 Oscar nominations. While Lynch had dipped his foot into the blockbuster pool in 1984, directing the sci-fi epic Dune, the film had disappointed commercially, and the director had returned to form with 1986's Blue Velvet, a psychological thriller which polarized critics but earned him even more respect within the world of indie cinema. After its release, Lynch began developing several projects with Blue Velvet's distributor, De Laurentiis Entertainment Group. But the company went bankrupt in 1988, and Lynch struggled to secure financing for his next film. In the meantime, Lynch entered into the world of television for the first time, directing a short film for French TV called The Cowboy and the Frenchman. Lynch also began collaborating with TV writer Mark Frost, who had worked on the acclaimed NBC police drama Hill Street Blues. The duo reportedly wrote a script together called Venus Descending, a fictionalized biopic of Marilyn Monroe based on the book Goddess by Anthony Summers. But the project never got off the ground, and after seeing several other film projects fail, the duo took a crack at the television medium, developing a series entitled Northwest Passage. Amidst the 1988 writers' strike, Lynch and Frost pitched the series to ABC, who eventually greenlit a pilot. The series was just what ABC was looking for, a cutting-edge program which would help them stand out. While David Lynch would provide the show with a creative edginess, Mark Frost's extensive experience with network television would keep the series presentable to a mainstream audience. While the show's setting was originally written as North Dakota, the setting was changed to Washington, and production on the feature-length pilot episode commenced in March of 1989, with Lynch directing. The pilot was centered around the murder of a teenage girl in a small town, and the subsequent investigation which rocks the community. While the murder mystery plot was designed to be the driving force of the series, the creators planned for the storyline to recede into the background over time, as the town's quirky inhabitants became the main focus. Around the time of the pilot's production, executive Bob Iger was appointed as the new head of ABC. And after viewing the pilot, which had been renamed Twin Peaks, Iger gave the show a series order, commissioning 7 additional episodes. The pilot was shown to critics over the summer of 1989, to which the response was overwhelmingly positive. But many questioned whether a show as unique as Twin Peaks could succeed in the arena of network television, fearing it would be written off by the general public for its eccentricities. But ABC embraced the uniqueness of their new show. And while the network had initially planned on airing the series in the fall of 1989, they decided to hold it back until mid-season. This was part of an overall strategy that the network was employing. By premiering more audacious shows in the spring, they would face less competition and have more of a chance to shine. By this time, ABC was the second highest rated network in America, second only to NBC. For 4 years in a row, NBC's sitcom The Cosby Show had achieved the biggest audience of any show on TV, and overall, the network's shows occupied 5 of the top 10 rating slots. But ABC had made headway over the past season, debuting the sitcom Roseanne, which hit the number 2 spot in the ratings. While the format of Roseanne was that of a traditional multi-camera sitcom, the show was groundbreaking, portraying a working-class family in a frank and realistic way. Similarly, Twin Peaks would co-opt a familiar formula, that of the primetime soap opera, which had soared to popularity during the early to mid-1980s. But the involvement of David Lynch guaranteed that the show would transcend the soap opera category, and ABC hoped that the inclusion of Twin Peaks on their schedule would help boost their ratings even more. In early 1990, Twin Peaks' premiere date was officially set as April 8th. The 2-hour series premiere would make its debut during ABC's Sunday night movie block. Twin Peaks would then move to its permanent home of Thursdays at 9 p.m., following the detective series Father Dowling Mysteries. This move was strategic in nature, as Thursday nights had been dominated for years by NBC and its popular sitcom block, anchored by The Cosby Show, its spin-off A Different World, and Cheers, 3 of America's top-rated shows. While Thursdays were NBC's strongest night, the network had struggled to find a show to follow Cheers at 9:30, cycling several different sitcoms through the time slot. ABC smelled blood in the water. By scheduling Twin Peaks against Cheers at 9 p.m. and the new sitcom Grand at 9:30, the network believed they could gnaw away at the block's core audience. And if they were successful, ABC had a real chance of beating NBC to become the country's highest-rated network. Leading up to its premiere, ABC promoted Twin Peaks heavily, playing up the show's critical response and emphasizing its mysterious and unusual atmosphere. Amidst an avalanche of publicity, Twin Peaks debuted on Sunday, April 8th, directly following ABC's highly rated series America's Funniest Home Videos. The 2-hour series premiere was a ratings smash, drawing in 20 million households. This equated to about 35 million individual viewers, becoming the 5th most watched program for the week. More impressively, Twin Peaks' debut was the highest-rated television movie of the season, with the show's audience reportedly growing in real time as the program aired. The series drew praise for its cinematic quality, with critics giving credit to Lynch for challenging the conventions of the television medium. While some characterized the show as a satire of the soap opera genre, Mark Frost denied this, telling the press, "It was never our intention to do any kind of parody. The story, however it may strike you, was told with a straight face." For its second episode, the show moved to its regular time slot of Thursday at 9 p.m. While its ratings dipped from the premiere episode, the show did remarkably well against Cheers, garnering 23 million viewers from 15 million households, and achieving ABC's highest ratings in the time slot in 4 years. The network was giddy. Not only had Cheers recorded a noticeable drop in its ratings against Twin Peaks, but Twin Peaks had beaten NBC's Grand at 9:30. ABC's strategy appeared to be working, and after just 2 episodes, Twin Peaks had proven itself as water cooler TV. It was a series that got people talking, with word of mouth prompting new viewers to tune in with each episode. But with the airing of the 3rd episode the following week, Twin Peaks would see increased competition from NBC, as the network replaced Grand with a new series at 9:30, entitled Wings. The sitcom followed the antics of pilots at a small airport, and was created by a team of writers who had formerly worked on Cheers. Together, the 2 series created a ratings firewall that would be very hard to beat. In its premiere week, Wings ranked at number 7, with Cheers taking the number 1 slot in the ratings, while Twin Peaks dipped down to the 28th slot. But considering its competitive time slot, Twin Peaks still had respectable numbers, particularly in the coveted 18 to 49 demographic. And the sustained buzz around Twin Peaks was doing wonders for ABC's reputation. The network was now the cool place to be, a stomping ground for hip, innovative series that were breaking the traditional mold. After episode 3, David Lynch stepped back from the show, leaving to work on his latest feature film, Wild at Heart. While he would still have input on developing storylines, Mark Frost would take over as the show's main creative force, collaborating with a team of writers and directors to finish out the season. Sans Lynch, episode 4 continued the show's ratings decline, dropping to number 45 for the week. But the show's reputation transcended its diminishing ratings, and by the end of May, ABC announced that Twin Peaks would be returning for season 2 in the fall. While NBC ultimately won the season for a 5th straight year in a row, Twin Peaks helped ABC stay steady at number 2, and the network hoped that the show's ratings would pick up with the second season. While most of ABC's other new shows had failed in the past season, Twin Peaks was undoubtedly a cultural phenomenon, and if ABC wanted to keep its edge, it would have to find a way to make the series work. But as the ratings had dropped in half since its premiere, the pressure was on. So ABC decided to think big. They would implement a bold new strategy for the fall, one that would confound the press and ultimately lead to the death of Twin Peaks.
I hope you don't mind a word to the wise.
For the fall of 1990, ABC was going all in on innovative dramas as they ordered a police procedural musical called Cop Rock, which they touted as being a totally new form of television. The show's inclusion on the schedule would complement the uniqueness of Twin Peaks, now entering its second season. While Twin Peaks was not sustaining the kind of mass audience that ABC had hoped for, the show was doing well with younger viewers, and this was becoming a bit of a trend for ABC. The network had multiple series that were critically acclaimed and popular with viewers in the 18 to 49 age group, but were not able to score high ratings overall. So the network came up with a new strategy for the fall. They would take 3 of their most critically acclaimed shows and pair them together to air on Saturday nights. At 8 p.m., The Young Writers would kick off The Block, a Western drama series in its second season that had developed a cult following amongst young adults. The show would be followed at 9 p.m. by China Beach, entering its 4th season with rave reviews but still suffering from mediocre ratings. The 10 p.m. slot would be reserved for Twin Peaks, in the hopes that the show would benefit from a lineup catering to younger viewers. This move was immediately criticized by the press. In the 1970s, Saturdays had been an extremely lucrative night for the networks, with CBS in particular developing a block of sitcoms that dominated in the ratings. But by the early 1990s, Saturdays had become a graveyard, by far the lowest rated night of the entire week. Most TV viewers, particularly young adults, tended to go out on Saturday nights, and those who stayed home tended to watch cable TV, videotapes, or premium channels like HBO. While NBC had built a strong Saturday night lineup with The Golden Girls and Empty Nest, the audience for these shows was much older than Twin Peaks, and the general perception was that young viewers were not watching network TV on Saturday nights. ABC defended its bold experiment, with Bob Iger saying, quote, "We're going for the gold with 3 special programs in an all-out attempt to change the perception of Saturday night television." Their goal was to lure young viewers back on Saturday nights by creating a block specifically for them, and with Twin Peaks no longer competing against Cheers, the network hoped that the show would finally have a chance to shine. But beyond its time slot, Twin Peaks was facing other challenges in sustaining an audience. Prior to the end of the show's first season, ABC spokesperson Bob Wright told the press that the murder of Laura Palmer would be solved during the season finale. The episode received a respectable ratings bump, which was chalked up to viewers tuning in expecting to see the main storyline resolved. When the episode ended on a cliffhanger, with Laura's killer not being revealed, Bob Wright issued a public apology, stating that he had misspoken based on a false assumption. After this blunder, Mark Frost told the press that the writers had never intended to solve the Laura Palmer case in the show's first season, stating they had intentionally left the plotline open to ensure renewal for a second season. Aside from the Palmer case, the show was also drawing some criticism for its soap opera-like approach, introducing numerous characters and plots that seemed to go on continuously with no resolution. As a solution, ABC reran the entire first season over the summer, hoping to get viewers up to speed. They also promised that Season 2 would be less serialized, with more storylines being resolved. Bob Iger went even further, telling the press that Laura Palmer's killer would be revealed during the Season 2 premiere. During its hiatus, Twin Peaks mania grew stronger, with merchandise hitting the stores and a companion book entitled The Secret Diary of Laura Palmer being published. Suffice to say, by September of 1990, fans were eager for the show to return. Fresh off the release of Wild at Heart, David Lynch returned to the show to direct the second season premiere, a 2-hour broadcast which debuted in a special time slot on Sunday, September 30th. While the episode received similar numbers to the season finale, it still ranked dead last in its time slot, slipping behind the other 3 networks. And while Bob Iger had promised that the episode would reveal Laura's killer, the revelation was vague, not a cut-and-dry solving of the murder that some viewers had hoped for. Its prospects were starting to look grim, but the real test would come the following Saturday, when Twin Peaks would air for the first time in its permanent 10 p.m. time slot. The network promoted the block as best they could, playing into the press criticisms through ads depicting nervous network executives. But the hype around Twin Peaks would not be able to salvage ABC's Saturday night lineup. Despite Lynch returning yet again to direct, the second episode of Season 2 debuted on Saturday to just 14.4 million viewers, ranking number 68 for the week. China Beach and The Young Riders didn't fare much better, hitting numbers 78 and 73 respectively. Over the following weeks, Twin Peaks' ratings continued to nosedive, and while the show had significantly increased ABC's ratings with the 18 to 49 demographic on Saturdays, the show's overall viewership had sunk to just 11 million viewers per episode. Much of the show's initial appeal was dissipating, but Twin Peaks still had one final means of drawing in viewers. The show still hadn't solved the Laura Palmer case, and by late October, ABC was using this as a point of leverage, promising the public that on the 7th episode of Season 2, Laura's killer would finally be revealed. On November 10th, the episode entitled Lonely Souls aired, written by Mark Frost and directed by David Lynch. True to their promise, Laura Palmer's killer was finally revealed, and the show's ratings benefited heavily from the revelation, jumping up to 17.2 million viewers. But even after this long-awaited payoff, the episode only ranked number 51 for the week, and the show's creative direction took a turn, with Mark Frost stepping back to create a docuseries for the Fox network entitled American Chronicles. While Lynch began making appearances on the show, playing FBI Regional Bureau Chief Gordon Cole, his involvement with the writing was minimal, and as the show struggled to find its way after the resolution of its main storyline, its ratings dropped even further. By December, ABC decided to pull China Beach from its Saturday time slot, signaling that their Saturday night experiment was officially a dud. Overall, ABC's season of innovative dramas was shaping up to be a resounding failure, as the network also pulled Cop Rock for bad ratings and dismal reviews. But despite losing favor amongst mainstream audiences, Twin Peaks was still a cult favorite, being included on numerous Best of the Year lists. After taking a month-long hiatus over the holiday season, the show returned to its same time slot with a new lead-in, a spy thriller entitled Undercover. But this new lineup lasted only several weeks, as ratings continued to sink. Even amongst the coveted 18 to 49 demo, Twin Peaks was now doing very poorly, and by the end of February, ABC announced that both Undercover and Twin Peaks would be pulled from their time slots. The network did not speculate if or when Twin Peaks would return, and as the series still had 6 episodes left to air in Season 2, fans were disconcerted, fearing that they may never see the rest of their beloved series. It appeared that Twin Peaks had run its course, but the show's avid fan base was not ready to give up. Soon enough, a grassroots campaign to save Twin Peaks would surmount, and the network had no idea what was about to hit them. Shortly after the show was pulled, David Lynch and Mark Frost went to the press, encouraging fans to write letters to ABC in protest. On February 27, 1991, Lynch made an appearance on the talk show Late Night with David Letterman, urging viewers to contact Bob Iger and tell him to schedule Twin Peaks on a weeknight. Lynch blamed the show's lagging ratings on ABC's decision to schedule it on Saturday night, characterizing the show's audience as party people who did not stay home on Saturday nights. Lynch himself felt that Wednesday at 10 p.m. would be the ideal time slot, in which Twin Peaks would benefit from a lead-in block of moderately successful sitcoms. Enthusiasts of Twin Peaks heard the call, and the fans quickly coalesced into a network of activist groups intent on saving the series. One such group, calling themselves COOP, Citizens Opposing the Offing of Peaks, was formed in Washington, D.C., run by Michael Caputo and Keith Poston. Besides being Twin Peaks devotees, the founders both worked in the world of political campaigns, so they used their expertise to create a nationwide movement with the goal of bringing the show back to television. COOP utilized the burgeoning technology of internet message boards to amass a reach of more than 50,000 people, organizing multiple actions to save the show. A phone-in protest to ABC's head office was staged, in which fans were encouraged to call the network with messages in favor of the show. Fans were also instructed to support Twin Peaks' sponsors, buying products from the companies that purchased ad time during the show. And of course, COOP mobilized fans to write letters to ABC, expressing their support for the show's return. With a formal campaign underway, ABC was flooded with mail from fans, pleading with the network to give the series another shot. But it wasn't just letters that the network received. Golf balls, donuts, logs, and chess pieces were all reportedly sent to ABC's offices. One viewer sent a rubber hand with pieces of paper inserted under its fingernails, a reference to the pilot episode. Another creative fan sent a can of creamed corn with a custom Twin Peaks logo. And while some fans expressed their support for the show through humor, others were not so kind. It was reported that the network received dozens of threatening hostage-style letters, demanding that they bring the show back or face dire consequences. All in all, ABC admitted to receiving over 10,000 letters of support for Twin Peaks, one of the biggest cancellation outcries the network had ever seen. The campaign reached a pinnacle when it was reported that the Michigan State Senate had passed a formal resolution supporting the return of Twin Peaks to television. With all of this commotion, ABC remained tight-lipped for several weeks, but the network had been backed into a corner.
Annie M.
Annie M.
I must have been dreaming. It was horrible. We were on Saturdays.
Facing enormous pressure, on March 9th, ABC announced that Twin Peaks would return to the airwaves in the Thursday 9 p.m. time slot following Father Dowling Mysteries. While some fans rejoiced that the show was back on a weeknight, the new time slot would prove to be a huge challenge. Once again, Twin Peaks would be airing opposite NBC's immensely popular Thursday sitcom block, teeing off against Cheers at 9 p.m. and Wings at 9:30. Worse yet, Twin Peaks would also face competition from Fox's Beverly Hills 90210, a new teen drama series that was garnering good ratings. Twin Peaks was essentially back where it started, facing fierce competition for its core 18 to 49 demographic, while being paired with an ill-fitted lead-in show. With fans and the press closely watching, Twin Peaks returned to the airwaves on Thursday, March 28th at 9 p.m. But unfortunately for its advocates, its new time slot failed to move the needle. The first post-hiatus episode received a 6.2 household rating and ranked number 76 for the week, losing a significant amount of its lead-in audience. And while its most loyal fans were enthusiastic, the competition from Cheers and Wings on NBC was insurmountable, as the two sitcoms dominated the night. The following week would offer no improvement for the cult series, as NBC replaced Wings with another show that was just beginning to gain momentum. In the summer of 1989, NBC debuted a sitcom pilot entitled The Seinfeld Chronicles, a self-proclaimed show about nothing based on the stand-up act of comedian Jerry Seinfeld. The show was brought back for a full season the following summer as Seinfeld, with the second season premiering in January of 1991. The show aired on Wednesday at 9:30 for 4 weeks, but its ratings were not stellar, so NBC decided to move Seinfeld into the coveted post-Cheers time slot to give it a much-needed boost and determine if the series was capable of retaining its lead-in audience. The Seinfeld episode entitled The Apartment premiered on Thursday, April 4th at 9:30, directly competing with Twin Peaks on ABC. NBC's experiment was a success, with Cheers hitting the number 1 spot that week in the ratings and Seinfeld coming in at number 9, drawing in its biggest audience yet. But Seinfeld's gain was Twin Peaks' loss, as the series remained stagnant at number 76 for the week. While Seinfeld and Twin Peaks were both lauded by critics for their unconventionality and originality, Seinfeld had clearly won over TV audiences, while Twin Peaks continued to falter. Shortly thereafter, ABC announced that Twin Peaks would air for several more weeks before going on hiatus, with the final 2 episodes of the season being edited together to air as a TV movie in June. ABC refused to reveal whether or not the show was canceled, saying its fate would be revealed at the end of May. The fans appeared to be dejected, with Coop director Michael Caputo conceding to the press, "I think ABC is showing all the commitment they're going to show." Despite its series premiere hitting the top 5 with 35 million viewers, the second season of Twin Peaks ranked number 100 out of 131 shows, averaging just 8 million viewers per episode. While Mark Frost said that he and David Lynch had discussed new storylines, he conceded that the show had already made its statement, saying, quote, "As a phenomenon, the show is over." In late May, ABC confirmed that Twin Peaks would indeed be ending after 2 seasons. The show's cancellation would underscore a larger trend in TV. ABC was abandoning the strategy of innovation that it had embraced over the past season, as many of the drama series that had won critical acclaim were canceled due to low ratings. To replace them, ABC ordered 10 new sitcoms for the fall, as they retreated back into safer, more traditional content. The series finale of Twin Peaks aired on June 10, 1991, during ABC's Monday night movie block. With David Lynch returning to direct, the ratings saw marginal improvement over the rest of the season. But the ending of the episode left multiple storylines unresolved. This was because production had already shut down for the season prior to ABC's cancellation announcement, with the actors being released to work on other projects. With no feasible way to wrap up all of the various storylines, Lynch created the best resolution he could with the available footage. Consequently, the series ended on a cliffhanger, and it appeared that fans would never be given a proper conclusion for Twin Peaks. But just weeks after the airing of the finale, it was announced that a film adaptation of the series was in the works. The film would be financed through revenues from the show's foreign syndication, and over the summer of 1991, production commenced on a feature film, with David Lynch directing but no involvement from Mark Frost. The film, entitled Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me, made its way into theaters in August of 1992, serving as a prequel to the Laura Palmer storyline laid out in the series. But the public response was mixed. The film's tone was much darker than the series, lacking the warmth and quirky humor that many viewers had become accustomed to. And while it did provide more insight into the character of Laura Palmer, Fire Walk with Me was not the conclusion that some fans had hoped for, leaving many plot lines from the series unresolved. Critical response was divided, and the film's box office suffered greatly, grossing just $4 million in North America on a $12 million budget. It appeared that the public appetite for Twin Peaks had quelled, but the show's popularity only grew as time went on, with the series being released on VHS and airing in reruns on cable television. As the years passed, David Lynch continued directing films, and Twin Peaks found its way onto each new format, securing a DVD release in 2001 and being added to Netflix for streaming in 2011. A whole new generation of viewers were being introduced to the series, and in 2014, it was announced that Twin Peaks would return for a 3rd season on Showtime, with David Lynch directing and Mark Frost returning to co-write the episodes. The 18-episode season aired in 2017, bringing back much of the original cast and continuing storylines that had been left open during the Season 2 finale. The new season received rave critical reviews, and Showtime reported record signups for their streaming service as a result of its debut. Despite being off of the air for over 25 years, Twin Peaks was still the potent force that had transfixed audiences in the early 90s. While David Lynch expressed some interest in continuing the series beyond Season 3, his death in 2025 all but confirmed that Twin Peaks was officially over. But Twin Peaks in all of its various incarnations remains a beloved piece of art, not only a significant work within the canon of Lynch's filmography, but a mystifying, captivating, and terrifying yet comforting experience unto itself. And when it comes to the question of who or what killed Twin Peaks, the answer depends on who you ask. According to Bob Iger, the show ultimately failed because of scheduling and storyline, and it's not unreasonable to attribute the show's initial demise to its inadequate time slots. But the series was not exactly designed to fit into the mold of early 90s network television. Its esoteric, highly serialized nature was very much ahead of its time, much more suited for the streaming era in which binge watching is the norm. Perhaps the initial run of Twin Peaks was always doomed from the start, but in the end, the series is perfect as is, more satisfying than a damn fine cup of coffee. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like and subscribe buttons, and if you'd like to support me on Patreon, you can find the link in the description.